What's going on, everyone? Good morning. It is absolutely beautiful and cloudless out here in the panhandle of Florida. We are at the Tyndall Air Force Base FAM camp. And yeah, this is going to be day number 5 that we've been out here. And I'm only kind of documenting it from a surveyor perspective, from the travel trailer perspective, because we've never taken this out on a trip this long, and we've never taken it out on a trip this far. So it's about 900 miles to get here, and it's about 900 miles once we head back. And again, we've never towed this unit that far or for this long of a period of time. Most of the time we take the surveyor out, we're only going out for maybe 1 or 2 nights. Not really long. I think 3 nights is the longest we've ever taken the surveyor out. So we're on our 4th night, 5th day, and then we'll be checking out in 2 days. So yeah, we've definitely put this thing through the grind, and it has been pretty dang nice, to be honest with you. The biggest challenge we have with a unit this size, which has 2 bunks in the back, a queen size, an actual full-size queen bed up front, a dinette with a kitchen and a small bathroom in the corner, the biggest challenge that we've ran into is the fact that we've ran out of storage space a couple times, where to put things. And that can be a bit of a challenge. For me, the biggest challenge with storage has been for equipment, like the hoses, all the different things I need. And I'm essentially using the back bottom door storage, where you might want to put a kayak or something off of the back of the RV. But storage has been our biggest challenge, trying to get everything we need for that long of a period of time crammed into the RV without having to use like a laundry mat or something like that to take care of our laundry, which we're probably going to have to do tonight. We'll probably go ahead and get everything cleaned. But so far, everything's been working out really well. We've had absolutely 0 mechanical issues with the RV. Not one thing has given us a problem. We haven't had any problems with tires, suspension, propane, any of that. Oh, well, actually, let me back up. The on-demand Furrion water heater is very inconsistent with how it works. Basically, it runs, and this is the first trip we've had this problem, so I might need to figure out what's going on. But the water will get nice and warm. It'll stay warm for about 3 or 4 minutes. Then it gets cool, and then I'll turn off the cold water to see what's going on, and the water coming out is cool. So it hasn't been terribly bad, because the groundwater here is also pretty warm, just because it's in the middle of summer. But it is a weird thing that I'm trying to figure out. If I let it just run, the hot water run, it'll heat back up. It just doesn't want to stay warm the entire time. Anyways, that said, we have a really busy day ahead of us. We've been pretty much carpooling with my dad the whole time in his Ford Escape over there, and that's his Georgetown Class A next to us. On a trip this long, we would typically bring our 5th wheel, only because our 5th wheel is like a whole home on wheels. It's got a lot more space, a lot more storage, a lot more everything for us to really do a trip like this and enjoy it well. So this was kind of an experiment for us to see if we could live in this thing for 6 nights and 7 days. So yeah, we've been able to do it so far, but it is a little cramped, to be honest with you. Anyways, that said, we're going to kick off the rest of the day. So we are leaving Tyndall Air Force Base right outside of Panama City, Florida. We were here for 7 days and stayed in the Surveyor and towed it with the F450, which was a very, very pleasant towing experience. The hitch we used on the back is the Shocker HD, which performed absolutely amazing. I could use my hitch camera while I was driving, especially through Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and you could see every time you'd hit those real rough roads, especially when you got into Houston and those areas where it got really, really rough, and this thing absolutely worked like a charm. It's a great story to tell whenever you're talking about using big heavy dually trucks with stiff suspension to haul relatively light travel trailers with relatively light A-frame sections. But we're not using the B&W Continuum or the CURT sway control, because we're using this truck and we don't get any sway at all. That said, we're packing up and we're heading home. So we just got sideswiped by a car. She just merged right into the side of the RV. Not really a lot of damage here on our side. She hit our door right there. It completely broke her mirror off, but she wasn't paying attention. I was laying on the horn as she merged right into me. I had nowhere to go, 2-lane road, but she came in right there on that road, like that SUV is. It just merged right into us. So we're gonna take care of this and hopefully get on the road soon. So the police are finally here. I think we got a highway patrol. This is unfortunate because the lady in the car behind me has an elderly woman in the passenger seat, and she keeps turning the car off. We keep telling her, you need to turn the car on. She's going to get hot in there. Oddly enough, though, she told the law enforcement officer that we ran into her, even though she merged illegally into our lane. So I'm glad we have dash cam footage of both the front and the back and showing her miss a sign. The trooper actually told us, yeah, a lot of people run that light or run that stop sign and cause accidents. So he comes out here a lot. Back at Buc-ee's again, topping off the truck. Not sure exactly how much fuel it's going to take, but got the Surveyor in tow. A little bit of damage to the other side, but it's not really damage. It's all pretty superficial. Yeah, it's always a little frustrating when someone's being dishonest about what happened. That said, I do wish her the best. I definitely don't want anything bad to happen. We're not even going to file a claim on her because to us, it's not worth it. And quite frankly, she'll probably get a ticket, or she probably got ticketed, and she's gonna have to repair her mirror. And last thing that really needs to happen at this point, honestly, is to add insult to injury. If there was more damage, if it would have shattered the door, thank the Lord it did not do any major damage to the RV. Just it was scuffing it up, and that was it. Cosmetic stuff, superficial. But yeah, we're not going to do anything to make their life any more difficult. You know, she hopefully learned a lesson, and maybe the lesson now with this minor incident is that she avoids doing that in the future, which could lead to a possible fatal accident, right? Pulling out in front of a vehicle, because if she had pulled out any further in front of me, it probably could have led to something. Now, I did try to swerve out of the way, so you'll see at the last minute, I'm looking in the rearview mirror thinking, there's no way she's going to try to merge into my lane. And then, yeah, she tried to, and unfortunately, she, I think, felt that it was a two-way stop, like we had to stop, and then, or she stopped and we had to stop. But, you know, a lesson in driving that a lot of children make is that they think things that aren't exactly accurate because they're just not experienced, or they don't exactly know what's going on. So, again, hopefully everything goes well for her. I don't want her to have any problems. I don't want her car to not be repaired. I don't want her to have issues moving forward. So again, we're probably not going to do an insurance claim on it, just because I can probably take this stuff off myself. And why, again, add insult to injury? I think she's learned a pretty valuable lesson. Anyways, we'll be on the road for a bit, just topping off the truck. Currently we're at 29 gallons, $92. Not exactly sure how much it's going to take, but it'll probably take another $15, I'm guessing. Okay, so we just literally got back. My wife and daughter are out of the vehicle, and check this out. So this is this trip. We did 1,804 miles, averaged 10.6 miles per gallon. Really don't know why. Oh, well, we hit a pretty hard headwind coming from Houston. And yeah, it was a pretty dang uneventful trip overall, except for the slight collision between a Honda Civic and the side of the RV. On the way back from Florida, we hit probably 8 to 9 very, very serious bumps on I-10, and then also going through one of the cities between Houston and here, and they were jarring. I mean, like super jarring. My wife was actually trying to hold the camera so you could see the shocker hitch through the display in the truck, and she couldn't because one was so jarring. And it actually seemed like the tires of the RV came off the ground at one point. We were going pretty slow, like 30 miles an hour. But yeah, we hit a few really, really, really serious bumps on the way back. DEF at 71%. I topped off right outside of Houston. So this thing just absolutely kills DEF whenever we're towing. At 71%, 30% of the DEF is gone in such a short period of time, and that's kind of crazy. Okay, so we just opened up the RV. My wife insisted on removing all of our dirty clothes and baggage before I filmed it, so that's why the door is open right now. We moved all of that stuff right here onto the golf cart. But this is the first actual view of what everything looks like after our trip. And I say that because I know where everything was, and I just wanted to see if anything was impacted. All right, so the ice maker shifted forward about 4 inches, but it's not really going to move that much. The curtain was closed, so it opened up. All right, slide is completely out. See what else is going on here. That's the screen from the truck. I set that inside. Let's look in the fridge. Yeah, nothing too crazy in here. So the fridge appears to be in pretty good shape. Inside of here, got a blanket that I still have to take out. This stuff jostled a little bit. My clear source, I moved a little bit, not too much. Inside the shower, that's exactly where I left it. So that's totally fine. The shower actually is in really good shape, and I forgot to turn the light off before we left. Overall, everything looks to be in really good shape. Now, the only issue we had, and this is actually something we had when we first got out there, I mean, I forgot to mention it because I thought that, actually I just forgot, was this right here. The bottom of this channel was not sealed down. There was a sealant, but it just wasn't attaching to the shower right here. So when we'd take showers, water would get under here and make this entire area wet. So always check those places and look for things that could cause problems like that. I didn't happen to have any white silicone with me, but my dad did. So he let me use his tube of silicone and caulk, and I simply put that down there. We were back in shape. But everything in here looks good. The turbo withstood it. I just put this piece of tape over the power light because it never turns off and it was super bright at night. The Furrion Chill Cube performed absolutely amazing. And check that out. So I forgot to strap the TV in place. And there was a distraction I had with a certain motorhome that was next to us for sale, and the gentleman in there was talking to me quite a bit about it, but I forgot to come back in here and strap that in place. That's a big no-no. That actually could have been a big problem considering how much leverage that is off the wall. So yeah, that is something that I should have absolutely come back in and taken a look at. And this was in its closed position. So this was like way back here whenever we took off, and I just didn't glance up at it. And this was probably setting on here like that. So again, it just didn't stand out to me. And again, that's something I should have fixed. So yeah, all of this, I take the table cover off before we, or take the tabletop off before we travel. I put it down here, and I put one leg in place just to kind of keep it. The Swiffer didn't move at all. None of that stuff moved at all. This didn't even move. But some of those big bumps were pretty dang big bumps. So I am super impressed with the suspension. I'm super impressed with the enhancements that I made to it to make it stronger. And I'm also really impressed with the fact that the shocker hitch did exactly what it was supposed to do, and that was to mitigate the amount of shock that transferred to the front of the RV. Because some of the things that we hit were definitely intense enough that I could envision it damaging the A-frame, and me not having anybody to blame except for really, really, really bad road surfaces. It's just like, you know, there was a bridge that it started to collapse at the end and no one knew about it, and people were driving over this area that was getting wider and wider and wider, and pretty soon people's suspension was starting to fail. People were having mechanical breakdowns because of this. And do I blame it on the manufacturer of the vehicle for building a horrible vehicle, or do I blame it on the fact that the city just didn't maintain this bridge properly? So when I look at events that take place over interstates, especially when there's big projects going on, I can absolutely tell in the driver's seat driving over some of these things that, man, I hope the truck didn't break, let alone the RV. So that's kind of my approach when I look at some of this stuff. If there is something really, really bad, and I mentioned earlier that there was an area going over the interstate on I-10 pretty early on today in our trip where we hit it, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, I came out of my seat almost, and it was going up to a overpass, a bridge, and it was probably 3-4 inch piece of, I don't know, asphalt to cover the entry to that bridge. I mean, it was intense. And then we make it over the bridge, and there's two semi-trucks that the front looks like it's just completely damaged. They got repair vehicles out there trying to fix it. And then I think about it, I'm like, man, my tiny lightweight RV, how could that have taken it? So doing little enhancements, paying, you know, a few $100 to reinforce your shackle hangers, making sure your tires are in good shape, making sure you have the right air pressure, making sure you don't have too much rust in certain areas, things like that can definitely minimize the risk that you're going to suffer from any type of catastrophic failure or issue when those scenarios occur. Because we all know, traveling across the country in different areas, you are going to absolutely run into some crazy under-maintained, over-maintained in the process of being rebuilt roads, and you're likely to hit impacts that I think most people realize, and it's common sense, you kind of wonder, man, I hope that didn't damage my truck, my vehicle, or my RV. Anyways, we're going to wrap this video up. We're back safe. It took us roughly 16 hours. Actually, no, a lot longer than that, because we got stuck trying to go through Mobile underneath the tunnel, or in the tunnel, and we were 2 hours delayed getting through there. And then we had another huge delay at a Love's gas station for food we paid for that took over 40 minutes to get out. So we ended up, yesterday turned into a 10-hour travel day when it should have been like a 7-hour travel day. And today was a little bit longer because we wanted to stop to stretch our legs, get some coffee, stuff like that. And today turned out to be like a 7.5-hour travel day instead of a 7. So we made good time getting back. That said, yeah, been a fun trip, and I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I typically don't film family trips, and I tried not to film the family portion of this trip, but I wanted to talk to you from a technical perspective, how this trailer towed, how the shocker hitch performed. I think it absolutely performed amazingly, and it's not the only product you can get like that. There are a lot of suspension related style hitches, and I think if you're going to be towing a light or relatively light, right, this thing's still 7,500 pounds loaded, but let's just say anything upward between like 4 to 7,000, 8,000 pounds with a heavy duty dually pickup truck, mainly dually pickup truck, but there could be some single rear wheel 1-ton trucks as well. You want to mitigate the amount of shock that's transferring to that front A-frame section, and I think that the shocker hitch did an absolutely killer job, as would the CURT Rebellion XD, as would the Gen Y with the lower tongue weight, rating on it versus one that, won't move at all because it's too stiff, as well as AirSafe and several other brands that, again, can just help reduce the chance that you're going to damage your travel trailer. Because we all know once it happens, you're going to get upset, you're going to get mad, but if you could have prevented it, especially if you could have prevented it by spending, $500-600 on a quality hitch. Again, does not have to be Shocker. It could be a number of other brands that provide shock absorption built into it. Might be worth it. Anyways, guys, sure hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.